What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and yes, it's happening. I'm leaving consulting. If you've watched my channel for a while now, you know that I started off as a financial analyst, and then I switched over to Big Four consulting just to gain a lot of experience in my industry. And now I'm going back to industry to work at a private firm. So I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned, while I was in consulting, things that I think might help you if you're thinking about going into consulting. And just to be specific, I was in business consulting on the finance team that dealt with risk management. So that includes regulatory compliance, which is the legal side of finance, and also includes finance transformation, which is the number side of finance, right? So you're dealing with those two things, and each project, a project might include both, or it might just be financial transformation, or it might just be compliance stuff. So I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned while in consulting. So the first thing is going to be the work experience that you're going to get. Probably heard that a year in consulting is equivalent to 2 years at any other job, which is true because most of the time you are going to be working on so many different projects that are going to allow you to learn so many different things, or maybe processes of doing things, right? So for me, I was working with financial institutions, mostly banks, right? So I can go from payment processors, banks, investment firms, and things like that, anything that processes money. So you can imagine me going from project to project to project to project and learning how they operate their business, or maybe just a business model, or maybe what type of management do they have, or maybe what software do they use to do this. So you're going to be learning a lot, which is going to give you a lot of experience. So you can compare this to a job that's not a consulting job. Let's say you work in the finance department, and let's say they use a program to do their finances, and you learn that program, you're really good at it, which is great. But if you go into consulting, I might have a client this week that uses this program, but then next week I might have a client that uses this one that I've never heard of before. So you have to learn that. And then the next week, maybe on a different project where the client uses something completely different. So you have to learn that as well. So you're going to gain a lot of work experience, right? You're going to gain so much work experience across your industry. Now, the next one is going to be learning to work with a lot of people. So in consulting, you're never going to have like your permanent team that you're going to go on every project with, right? Each project is unique, and the people that work on the project are also unique, right? You're never going to have the same people for every project. So that means that you have to learn to start over again and again and again. So let's say you have a project that lasts you for maybe a month. You have these people, you build relationships with them. The project is over. Now you're going on to your next project. It's going to be completely different people. So you have to restart that process again. So this is going to force you to, to learn how to work in teams, learn how to communicate with people, learn how to, kind of like build that, maybe it's a friendship or maybe that relationship of, coworkers. It really forces you to do that, because if you're not good at that, you're gonna absolutely hate it. So it's definitely gonna give you those people skills. All right, now the next one is gonna be the problem solving skills that you're gonna gain. So in consulting, one of the things that really still blows my mind to this day is, usually, let's say you have a client, and then the client is saying, this is our problem, and how do we fix it? Nobody knows how to fix it, right? So your job as consultants is to figure out how to fix it. Most of the time, you don't know how to fix it. You have to look at the problem first, analyze, and do all these, different processes that we have in place. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out a solution, because that is what you're hired to do. So this allows everyone on the team to kind of like put on their thinking hats in order to solve the problem. So that's where you're going to hear a lot of people throwing different suggestions on how you can solve the problem. Now, it's even better if you are, let's say, in a team lead position. Everyone is going to be looking up to you to give the final answer, or to kind of like summarize everything into something that everyone is going to be able to understand. And also the management team is going to want to hear from you. What did your team come up with as a possible solution, right? So this is going to force you and help you build those problem solving skills. Now the next one is going to be the power of networking in consulting. I'm talking about networking internally, right, with your coworkers. Or, one of the best ways to do this is if you are on a project with a team, maybe it's a 2-month project, and you meet someone that you think might be good to have in your network, or maybe it's someone who's a team lead, or maybe it's a manager, maybe it's a senior consultant. And one of the best ways that I used to do that was to just add them on LinkedIn, or maybe, schedule some time with them to just talk. And you want to do this because it's going to help you in a couple ways. Number one is going to be your review, right? So if you work in consulting, you know that you have to get a review from someone who was supervising you, or someone who worked with you directly, something like that. It just depends on the consulting firm. but that helps them figure out what bonus to give you. How did you perform on your projects, right? So you always want to have a good relationship with someone who's going to be giving you a review, right? This is not about working out, it's about being likable and knowing the right people. So so the first thing is you need that person for a good review, right? And the second thing is going to be you need to get on good projects, right? So in consulting, there are some projects that nobody really wants to do, or they're boring projects. There's also some exciting projects. Maybe it's a new company that has exciting technology or something like that that everyone wants to get on. Maybe it's just a company that has a cool sounding name and everyone wants to be on that project, and you want to be on that project too. So most of the time, your resource manager, they might be called different names at different firms, but the resource manager is the one that staffs you onto projects, right? So usually you tell them what kind of projects you're interested in, but sometimes your skills might align with a boring project. So now you have to be on the boring projects because your skills align with it. But if you have a network, right? Let's say you network with people that are, managers or senior managers that actually have the ability to handpick their team. Those are the people that you want to have in your network in order to get on the cool projects. Sometimes managers are looking at 2 or 3 different projects, and they're trying to work with the resource manager to kind of like find the right talent for the project. But if a manager already knows your work ethic, or maybe how things you're good at, they'll just pick you. You don't have to go through the resource manager and through all this. The manager can just pick you up directly. So those are the 2 main reasons for networking internally, or my favorite ones at least. Now the next one is going to be advocating for yourself. Now consulting is going to be whatever you make it for yourself. No one's going to push you to do things. No one is going to force you to do things in consulting. No one is going to kind of like beg you to do things. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to, and this is also visible. Sometimes you have those meetings, right? Those meetings about your salary or your bonus. There's meetings like that in consulting to see how satisfied you are, and if you should be paid more or less. This is where you advocate for yourself. And this is also good if you're on a project and you have a team. Sometimes if you're trying to solve a problem and everyone is throwing out suggestions and things like that, say something, advocate for yourself. That is how you stand out. That is how people notice you. You got to realize that you're competing with other consultants that are at your rank. So you have to be able to advocate for yourself. If you see something that you don't like, advocate for yourself. You have to do that, because no one is going to do it if you don't do it, because everyone looks out for themselves at the end of the day. Now, the next one is going to be, there's usually no wrong idea. Earlier, I was talking about, problem solving, right? So let's say there's a problem and people sit down to try to figure out some possible solutions. Sometimes it's easier to stay quiet because you think your ideas are probably stupid, or your ideas aren't good enough. I can promise you that no idea is a wrong idea. That is how you are going to be able to stand out as well, and as well as contribute to the team. So when that team lead or manager that's looking over the team has to give you a review that's going to affect your performance bonus, they're going to say that you're contributing to the team. You are, giving out suggestions and things like that. Now, the next one is going to be finding a friend or a mentor, or whatever you want to call them. Find somebody that's been in the firm for about a year or maybe 2 years. That's going to be kind of like your best friend, someone that's going to help you with everything. How do you, turn in your timesheets? How do you do this? How do you take vacation? How do you, it's so many things that you have to learn, but it's almost impossible to learn those things on your own, especially if you're just on a bunch of projects and you don't have time to do anything internal. Sometimes you might not even know how to balance your time, right? Sometimes there's hidden benefits in all consulting firms that you might not, that nobody really talks about, but everyone uses them. So you have to know someone that knows that they actually exist and they can help you. So it's always great to find someone. Most consulting firms will give you they will match you with someone that can help you, that's been there for a little while. But if they don't, find somebody and just ask for them to kind of like show you around and ask questions and things like that. That's really going to help you. Now the next one is going to be doing internal activities, right? So most of the time, if you're working in consulting, you're working on a bunch of projects, you're off to the client side, you're doing client work. But there's going to be a time when you're in between projects, right? We call this the bench. You're on the bench, you're benched, right? You're waiting for your next project and you're just chilling. Sometimes you do your CPA courses online. Once you have those done, there's nothing to do really. I recommend that you do all the internal events. If they have events at the local office, attend. If they're looking for volunteers, do that. If they're looking for someone to recruit on a campus, do that. Those are things that you can use to advocate for yourself. Remember I said to advocate for yourself earlier? these are the things that you can use to advocate for yourself, right? If you are, if you are negotiating your raise or bonus, right, you can say that, I've been involved in the community. I have, brought talent through recruiting at my old campus. I have, so these are things that kind of like make you seem like you're involved, and you are, you're not just doing the client work, you're also doing something to build at the local firm. Now, the next one is going to be enjoying the bench, right? So if you're in between projects, we call it being on the bench. Enjoy it. Most people try to panic, right? Let's say you're on the bench for 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks, maybe it goes on to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. A lot of people like to panic. Am I gonna get fired? Oh my God, I'm looking for my next project. Oh my God, take some time. You need to relax. If you're on the bench, relax. Do your courses, your CPE courses online. And once you're done with those, watch some Netflix, enjoy. Like, maybe go learn a new skill or find a new hobby. I know when I was on the bench for the first time, I started working out. So I would work out in the middle of the day, right? Most people like to use this time to network. Look for people that are within your firm. Maybe they are where you want to be in terms of maybe the position, or maybe you just want more insight, and just reach out to them on Teams or whatever messaging platform that you are using, or maybe put some time on their calendar and network with them. You'd be surprised how much people are willing to help anybody, really. But the main message here is going to be, you have to enjoy the bench. Don't panic because you're not on a project for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe a month sometimes. Don't panic. Enjoy the bench, because once you get on a project, it's going to be back-to-back projects. Unless you only need to be worried if you're in a project and you did really horrible on the project, or maybe you got kicked off of the project. Now you're on the bench. Yes, now you need to be worried if you're on the bench after being horrible at a project. But if you just did what you're supposed to do on a project, or maybe went above and beyond, now you're on the bench. Enjoy it. You earned it. So now that is pretty much it for this video. Maybe there'll be a part 2, but I say all these things to say that these are things you can take back to industry, right? So like I said before, I'm leaving consulting. I'm going back to work for a private firm. Now, these are things that I can take back. You're not going to be able to learn these things at a single company that is not a consulting firm, right? Because it's obviously limited for a reason. Now, if you go to consulting and you learn all these things, or maybe even more, these are things you can take back to industry whenever you exit consulting. But that is pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure to go and hit the subscribe button below if it's already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.